Alright, so we're going to finish up with the DM tutorial on NPCs doing a Statblock import. If you go down here on the pencil, it's the light blue one, import NPC from Statblock. It works kind of the same way the other one does, the import. In this case, I'm going to copy this text, and it's very simple on this one. Some of them are a lot more complicated, but in this one, this should be pretty easy. So we copy paste it, and one of the things you want to do is review the stat block. Kind of the same way that the text block import expects some text in certain formats. In this case, it says a stone golem and then parentheses some stuff. It expects to the very first parameter on a stat block is going to be the name. So and sometimes the stat block will be a stone golem colon and then the rest, and that'll work. You can also put semicolon, which I'll do here. And the reason I use semicolon there is just because the rest of them do that. All the fields are broken apart by semicolon, so whenever it parses this up, it looks at each one of those trying to find something like AC. Okay, I found AC. What is it set to? 5. And then anything after the number 5 is going to be pushed into the AC text field on the NPC, so you can just see what it is. Move is the same way. Hit dice, hit points, all that stuff. Works the same. So what we're going to do is we've set that. It looks like everything has semicolons where I expect them, where they should be. Sometimes you'll notice that they won't have them. They'll be just like commas instead of semicolons, you know, between number of attacks and damage, or damage and special attacks, those sort of things. You just got to look for those, because I can't anticipate every single possible option, because what if AC says 5,6 when the sun is out, or something like that. So I can't assume that comma is a divider. It has to be semicolon. So make sure those things are separated by semicolons. And once we're done, you click import, and it will give you the name and set the fields that it knows that it got from the stat block. You can see it set the special attack, damage from the attack, THAC0, and I think that THAC0, if it doesn't list it, it's going to guess at what it is based on its hit dice. In this case, the hit dice is 14, so it's calculated that should be around 7. It set the hit points because the hit points were listed statically in the stat block, so it set them to 60, but you also have this 14d8 here. Now, I know stone golems have some special powers and some other things, and they're not listed here. But in this case, we just want to be able to import whatever was listed there as that small stat block. The details will have the entire thing. It'll also do some highlighting, try to make it a little more useful. And like right here, I didn't even notice it says immune to most spells. So you can't really make an effect that's immune to most spells. You will just need to know that, and what I would probably do is do what we did earlier, is go to actions, create a special ability note, and just do this. And I generally call them resistances on all the NPCs that are in the monster manual. So if they have less resistance to something, that is a resistance. So I put the vulnerabilities in there as well. There are some where I call out specific ones and put them there, but in this case, we're good. And so now they can see he's immune to most spells. So it doesn't really say in the stat block what they're immune to, so that doesn't really help. In this case, I would fall back to what the monster manual said, but and it put the damage here. If it listed powers, special powers and stuff, you could do that. And it will try to parse spells. It's not going to be 100% on that, because it's very different in how whoever entered the stat block and how they do it. And it absolutely won't get the when you go into prep mode, it's not going to get the spell slots that they can memorize. And in fact, just for an FYI, NPCs do not require spell slots to be able to memorize stuff. So if you want to memorize it, they can. It won't stop you from memorizing. You're the DM. You can do whatever you want. The slots are there just as something to you can guess by if you want, but NPCs can do whatever they want. It's the rule set will let you do that. So if they cast it and they don't have it memorized, it'll let it go off anyways. It won't complain. Now, what I was talking about is the spells. So it will try to, if it has a list of spells like Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Sleep, and that kind of stuff, and it's in a kind of semi-formatted style after spells : or spells something : it'll try to grab all of those. It'll search through all the spells that you have in your list here, all of those, for a name that matches, and then it'll just drop them in there. And this particular guy doesn't, but it'll try to do that and put them in there. It'll also try to determine if it's a priest or a mage, because it's arcane and divine. If it doesn't know, I think it defaults to arcane version, so that may matter to you. And if it does, just put priest : or priest semicolon somewhere in the stat block, and it should automatically pick the divine versions versus the arcane version. So, and vice versa. If it's both of them, well, then you're just gonna have to go through and manually pick all of the spells that they have and put them in there, because it can't know which is which, especially from a stat block. But that's how it works. It's useful for people that are building content from an adventure, and all they have is the stat block. You can just copy and paste and throw it in there. It'll get most of it. You may have to go in there and tweak it. Like in this case, it got the damage attack right. Sometimes they have the formatting on the damage really weirdly, and you just have to go in there and set it yourself. Click on the little gear and set it to what it's supposed to be. But it does its best to try to set it. And I believe that will get all the NPC abilities and features.